You know what nobody tells you when you start prepping? That some of the most important survival items you can buy will literally flag you in a database somewhere. I've been prepping since 2012. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through 12 specific items that can put you on what I call the prepper blacklist. These aren't conspiracy theories. These are documented realities based on existing regulations, reporting requirements, and surveillance systems that are already in place. You're quietly stacking beans, batteries, and band-aids, convinced the only eyes on you are the deer in your backyard. Wrong. Every swipe of that card, every click on that card, is a breadcrumb, and some crumbs are neon. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which purchases trigger attention, why they matter, and more importantly, how to think strategically about building your preparedness without painting a giant target on your back. Here's what makes this topic so crucial. We live in a time where preparing for emergencies is simultaneously encouraged and monitored. The government wants you prepared enough that you won't drain emergency resources during a crisis, but not so prepared that you can operate completely independently of the system. There's an invisible line, and certain purchases push you across it. What you're about to learn isn't about living in fear. It's about making informed decisions with your eyes wide open. No tinfoil, no guesswork. Just the regulations, the receipts, and the real-world fallout. If you want to stay off the radar, you need to hear this list to the end. In 2023, Homeland Security Fusion Centers quietly updated a filter that flags any civilian who buys 3 of these items in a 30-day window. 3. That's it. You're not on a list because you're paranoid. You're on it because an algorithm says so. Stick around. Item 7 is the one most preppers buy first and regret fastest. Let's get into it. Section 1. Night vision and thermal optics. Let's start with the big threshold to cross. Anything that lets you see in the dark. This is a big one, and here's why. When you purchase advanced night vision devices like Gen 2 Plus or better intensifier tubes, thermal weapons sights, or even civilian hobby scopes, if it's export-controlled under ITAR, the International Traffic in Arms Regulations, the serial number is married to your name the second the box ships. These items are classified as defense articles, which means every sale is documented, and that information can be shared with federal agencies. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't own night vision. What I am saying is that you need to understand what happens when you make that purchase. Sellers are required to verify you're a U.S. citizen, your transaction gets logged, and in the eyes of federal agencies, you've just acquired a capability that gives you a significant tactical advantage in low-light conditions. That's a capability they've historically wanted to monopolize. Think about it from their perspective. Night vision technology allows you to move, observe, and operate when most people are blind. That's exactly the kind of force multiplier that makes someone stand out in a database. Buy it secondhand on a forum? Doesn't matter. The original dealer kept the paper trail. The documentation for these items is ironclad. Customs officers have seized $27,000 worth of surplus goggles at the post office because the buyer's name popped on an automated watch list. Is it legal to own? Absolutely, in most cases. Does it flag you as someone with enhanced capabilities? Also, yes. The key is understanding this trade-off before you click that buy button. Bottom line, own it if you must, but accept that your file just grew a new chapter titled Possible Militia Optics Procurement. Section 2. High-Capacity Fuel Storage. Next up, those shiny 55-gallon drums lined like soldiers in your shed. This one surprises a lot of people. I'm not talking about keeping a few 5-gallon gas cans in your garage for your lawnmower. I'm talking about 55-gallon drums, 250-gallon tanks, or larger stationary fuel storage systems for gasoline or diesel. Here's the thing about fuel. It represents energy independence. With enough stored fuel, you can run generators, power vehicles, operate farm equipment, and maintain mobility when everyone else is stuck. In a crisis where fuel is rationed or distribution is controlled, having your own reserve means you've bypassed their control mechanism entirely. Anything over 60 gallons on a single property triggers hazmat reporting in 18 states. Fire marshals get involved. Hazmat regulations apply. Environmental agencies track it. This is not just about fire safety, it's about control. Large fuel purchases and storage installations require permits in many jurisdictions. Fire marshals file the permit with the county shares it with the state EMA, and the state fuses it with DHS. All of this creates a paper trail that leads directly to your door. And here's the uncomfortable truth that I learned back in 2016 when I was researching emergency powers legislation. During declared emergencies, there are existing legal frameworks that allow for the requisition or seizure of critical resources, including fuel reserves. Your strategic thinking has essentially created a map for resource collection. One guy in Ohio stacked 12 drums for a blackout buffer. When a minor wildfire hit the county, the EPA showed up, seized the cash, and handed him a $41,000 cleanup bill. You thought you were being responsible, you thought you were ensuring your family could weather a prolonged crisis, and you were. But you also made yourself visible to any agency tasked with securing fuel supplies during an emergency. It's a calculated risk that you need to understand going in. Moral: spread it, hide it, or keep it under the magic number. Just don't stack it in plain sight. Section 3. Bulk medical supplies. Item number 3 gets into medical supplies, but not the basic stuff. I'm talking about prescription antibiotics, surgical kits, advanced trauma supplies, and bulk medical equipment. A standard first aid kit doesn't raise eyebrows, but when you start ordering things like fish antibiotics in bulk, multiple surgical kits, cases of hemostatic gauze, chest seals, and tourniquets, pattern recognition systems start paying attention. The algorithms that monitor purchasing behavior are looking for anomalies. Why does a civilian household need trauma supplies appropriate for treating multiple casualties? Why are you stockpiling antibiotics? Are you preparing for mass casualty events? Are you planning to operate a medical facility outside the regulated healthcare system? I get it, the logic is sound. In a true collapse scenario, medical care might be unavailable. Having the ability to treat serious injuries or infections could save lives. But from a surveillance perspective, this kind of purchasing behavior signals someone who's preparing to operate independently of government-controlled healthcare infrastructure. That makes you interesting to certain agencies. Walking into a trauma supply site and ordering 500 chest seals, 250 cat tourniquets, and a surgery kit looks like charity until the algorithm tags it as mass casualty prep. The FDA doesn't care, but the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit absolutely logs bulk medical orders when combined with other keywords. During the 2020 unrest, one Kentucky nurse had her FedEx account frozen mid-shipment because her $3,800 order matched a riot medic profile. She eventually got the goods, but not before 3 interviews and a permanent note in her FBI file. The invisible line exists between being a responsible prepper with a good trauma kit and someone who appears to be preparing for warfare or complete societal breakdown. Where that line sits is subjective and probably varies by jurisdiction, but it exists, and crossing it means your purchases generate reports. Split your sources, vary your shipping addresses, and never order everything in one cart. Section 4. Secure comms gear. Encrypted handhelds, frequency-hopping ham rigs, and mesh network radios all sound like harmless geek toys, until you learn that the Bureau of Industry and Security slapped new export classifications on them last year. In a world where every phone call, text message, and email can potentially be monitored, the ability to communicate privately is a powerful thing. Standard ham radios are one thing. When you start acquiring encryption capabilities, you're creating a black hole in the surveillance grid. You're establishing the ability to coordinate, organize, and communicate in ways that can't be easily monitored. That's exactly the kind of capability that draws attention. Buy 2 and the distributor is required to file an end-user statement. That PDF goes straight to Commerce, then gets mirrored to NSA's Signals database. Think about what happens during any major emergency. Cell networks get overloaded or go down entirely. The government becomes the primary source of information and instructions. If you've got a private communication network with encryption, you can operate outside that information control structure. You can verify what you're being told. You can coordinate with others. You can make independent decisions based on unfiltered information. That independence is threatening to any system that relies on controlling information flow. Sales of advanced communication equipment can be tracked. Online forums where these topics are discussed are monitored. The community itself is watched. One Colorado prepper group bought 10 Baofeng UV5Rs in a bulk pack. Within a week, every member received a postcard inviting them to a friendly FCC inspection. It's not paranoia to recognize this reality. It's situational awareness. Use cash, buy local, and program them offline if you want to stay gray. Now, before we go further, I want to share something with you that's going to make all of this more practical and actionable. Because I know how overwhelming preparedness can feel, especially when you're trying to figure out what to prioritize and how to do it on a budget. I've put together a completely free guide that reveals how to turn just $50 into a 90-day food supply for when life gets unpredictable. This guide is something I personally developed based on years of trial and error, and it's designed to help you build your family's food security and peace of mind with a simple, proven plan. You don't need experience, and you definitely don't need a massive budget to get started. Here's what you're going to find inside this free guide. First, the exact $50 shopping list that feeds your family for more than 90 days. I'm talking specific brands, specific prices, everything you need to know. Second, 37 essential preparedness items that most people never think to stockpile. Number 23 is going to surprise you. I also include the simple storage trick that works whether you're in a house or a small apartment. You're going to learn how to make emergency meals with zero cooking fuel or electricity required. There's even a gas station snack that's perfect for bartering, which is something people don't think about enough. The guide walks you through scaling up from 1 week to 3 months with confidence, gives you storage strategies to keep your supplies organized and fresh for years, and reveals the one oil that stays shelf-stable and safe for the long term. This is all yours, completely free. The link is in the description below and in the pinned comment. Just click it and let me know where to send your copy. Trust me, this is one of those resources you're going to reference again and again as you build your preparedness foundation. All right, let's get back to the blacklist. Section 5. Large-scale water. Purification. A single Sawyer Mini is invisible. A 5,000-gallon per day reverse osmosis trailer is not. I'm not talking about a Sawyer Mini or a life straw for your bug-out bag. I'm talking about systems capable of purifying hundreds or thousands of gallons of water. Systems that could serve a neighborhood or small community. Water is more critical than food. You can survive weeks without food, but only days without water. After any major disaster, clean water becomes the most precious resource. A system that can turn contaminated water into safe drinking water on a large scale essentially becomes critical infrastructure. Here's the problem. Critical infrastructure can be commandeered, controlled, or seized during emergencies. FEMA catalogs community-level water infrastructure, and anything rated over 1,000 gallons per day gets an automatic critical infrastructure tag. When you purchase industrial-scale filtration equipment, you're signaling that you have the capability to be water independent, not just for yourself, but potentially for a larger group. That makes you a person of interest in a crisis. They need to know where water purification capabilities exist so they can potentially requisition or control them. The logic from a government perspective makes sense. They need to manage resources and prevent chaos. But from your perspective, as someone trying to take responsibility for your family and maybe help your neighbors, it feels like punishment for being prepared. It's a tension that exists throughout emergency management policy. When the Regional Fusion Center ran a disaster sim in Florida, they seized 3 privately owned units for public safety. If you want high volume, split it into multiple small units, or buy agricultural drip filters that stay under the threshold. Section 6. Body armor and tactical gear. Plate carriers and level feed plates are the new litmus test for armed and ready. This is where things get really interesting because body armor is purely defensive equipment. It doesn't hurt anyone. It just protects the wearer. Yet, in many jurisdictions, it's increasingly restricted, and purchases are definitely tracked. When you buy ceramic or steel plates and a plate carrier, that purchase gets logged right alongside any firearms purchases. The databases talk to each other. If you've also bought night vision, bulk ammunition, and secure radios, your profile escalates significantly. The algorithm sees someone who's not just prepared for emergencies but equipped for tactical operations. Since 2022, 3 states require dealers to photocopy driver's licenses for every plate sale. That scan gets uploaded to the state police, who forward it to NICS. A New York man bought 4 carriers for his adult kids for Christmas. ATF knocked on his door 3 weeks later asking why he needed fire team equipment. There's no federal ban yet, but the paper trail is now ironclad. Buy steel plates out of state with cash, or better, buy a vest that accepts inserts but comes empty. Section 7. Bulk ammunition and reloading supplies. Here's the one almost every prepper trips. 1,000 rounds sounds like a range day, but 10,000 rounds in a single credit card swipe creates an automatic ammunition large quantity entry in the dealer's bound book. Since 2021, the ATF has been digitizing those books region by region. This means that paper trail, which used to be hidden in dusty filing cabinets, is now becoming a searchable, interconnected digital record. The government is intensely interested in who has access to significant quantities of ammunition, and for good reason. It's a direct indicator of potential sustained operations. One Arizona retiree bought 15,000 mixed rounds online. A month later, he was denied a concealed carry renewal because local sheriffs referenced the ATF flag. This isn't just about making a purchase. It's about building a profile that can have real-world consequences on your other rights and privileges. Hand-load your own, buy components separately, and keep your totals under the magic 5,000 round line if you want to stay vanilla. Section 8. Drones and surveillance equipment. Every DJI or Audal bird heavier than 249 grams broadcasts a flight log to an FAA cloud. Pair that with a thermal payload, and you just crossed into sensitive sensor platform territory. Drones with advanced capabilities, especially thermal imaging, are seen as more than just hobby toys. They represent a significant intelligence-gathering capability. The FAA requires registration, and those registration details are linked to you. Last spring, a Kansas rancher flew his new thermal drone over his cattle. The next week, he got an email requesting he register the aircraft as a commercial operator and submit flight plans. This wasn't a casual request. It was a consequence of the drone's capabilities being flagged. Even worse, Customs can subpoena those logs without a warrant. This means your flight history, your areas of interest, and your operational patterns can all be accessed and analyzed. Fly them, sure, but strip the geotag, pay cash, and never register under your primary email. Section 9. EMP protection. Gear Faraday bags are cheap, but a 40-foot EMP-shielded shipping container is a giant neon sign that says, "I expect the grid to die." DHS classifies large EMP shielding as hardened infrastructure, same as telecom bunkers. This kind of preparation signals a belief in a catastrophic, grid-down scenario, which naturally draws government attention. Why would someone invest so heavily in protecting electronics from an electromagnetic pulse unless they anticipate a major event? A Missouri man bought 2 used containers, grounded them, and filled them with electronics. When county assessors updated tax records, they flagged the structures as non-standard utility. That data pinged the State Emergency Management Office and eventually the Navy's EMP division. This wasn't about breaking a law. It was about the implication of his actions. These purchases and installations create a digital footprint that indicates a specific type of preparedness, one that suggests an expectation of widespread infrastructure failure. If you want to harden, do it in your basement, line with copper mesh, and never pull a permit. Section 10. Ballistic helmets and protective headgear. Bump helmets are fine. Level 3A ballistic helmets require the same dealer scrutiny as body armor in several states. These aren't just safety gear. They're seen as tactical equipment designed for high-threat environments. The catch: surplus military helmets still carry a serial number linked to the original armory. This means even if you buy something used, its history is still traceable. A Texas buyer picked up 10 ACH helmets at a gun show. When one later turned up in a traffic stop search, the serial traced back to him through a pawn database. He spent 8 hours in an interview room explaining why he needed a squad's worth of headgear. This is a perfect example of how seemingly innocuous purchases, especially in bulk or linked to military origins, can lead to direct scrutiny. It's not paranoia to recognize this reality. It's situational awareness. Stick with civilian-rated helmets or strip the cereal and repaint if you insist on milsurp. Section 11. Waterborne transportation. 2 kayaks. On a roof rack is recreation. 6 military pack rafts with outboard mounts is contingency mobility. During hurricane season, FEMA monitors Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace for bulk watercraft sales because they've seen them used in smuggling and looting ops. This highlights a crucial point. The government isn't just looking at what you buy, but how your purchases could be interpreted in a crisis. Large quantities of easily deployable watercraft are seen as assets for independent movement, which can be a red flag. A Florida prepper flipped 12 inflatable boats for profit. When a storm hit, county deputies seized the lot under emergency powers. This wasn't about him being a criminal. It was about the government's perceived need to control resources during an emergency. Your strategic thinking, once again, can make you a target for resource requisition. Buy them one at a time from different sellers and never post package deal ads. Section 12. Generators. Gas, dual fuel, solar hybrid. Last on the blacklist. Anything that keeps the lights on when the grid dies. Starting in 2024, the Energy Department requires manufacturers to embed RFID chips in every generator over 8 kilo. That chip pings a secure database when serviced under warranty. This is a significant shift, moving from simple purchase tracking to ongoing, embedded monitoring. A generator is one of the most fundamental pieces of equipment for true independence during a power outage or grid failure. Buy 3 10-kilowatt units and you're flagged as a critical load stakeholder. This designation isn't just a label. It means your assets are now on a list that could be activated during a widespread emergency. One Idaho family registered 4 hybrids for a tax rebate. During a wildfire, the local sheriff commandeered 2 of them under emergency statute. This is the reality we live in now. Your desire for self-sufficiency can directly lead to your resources being identified and potentially seized for public good. Stay small, buy inverter units under the threshold, and avoid the rebate paperwork. I can tell you're serious about being prepared, and I want to make sure you never miss content that could genuinely make a difference for you and your family. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This channel is all about practical preparedness without the fear-mongering. All right, let's wrap this up. Now, here's what I want you to understand. This isn't about fear. This isn't about giving up on preparedness because you're worried about attention. This is about making strategic decisions with full information. Some of these items might be worth the visibility because they're critical to your plans. Others might not be worth the trade-off for your specific situation. The key is something called operational security. It's a military concept that applies perfectly to preparedness. Most importantly, prioritize intelligence and skills over gear. Knowledge can't be confiscated. Skills can't be tracked. The ability to improvise, adapt, and overcome doesn't show up in any database. A person with knowledge and skills but minimal gear is more dangerous, in the best sense of that word, than someone with every item on this list but no idea how to actually survive. Some of these items you can still buy. Some you should build yourself. Some you might decide to skip entirely. The point isn't fear, it's informed friction. Every extra form, every extra license, every extra scan is a breadcrumb you choose whether to drop. Stay smart, stay gray, and remember, the best prep is the one nobody knows you have. Stay safe out there, stay smart, and stay prepared. I'll see you in the next one.